I signed our first client the week of Christmas.
Wow.
Still a client to this day. Running a high growth business, it really amplifies who you are to yourself. It amplifies your emotions because everything is just on 100.
You might give me an example of that?
The analogy I give to people is running a high growth business is like riding a roller coaster that you built. Everyone else is riding the roller coaster not knowing what went into it, and they got their hands up in the air and they're enjoying the ride. You're always on alert, right?
Yeah.
And I think I came to that realization is it's riding a roller coaster that you built.
What do most companies get wrong when they try to grow?
I think a lot of people don't actually plan for growth.
Before we go back into your story, give us some snapshot that would, kind of what are the world that you operate in today? What kind of companies do you help grow, and what problems do usually really come to you? Give us some snapshot that would, kind of what are the world that you operate in today? What kind of companies do you help grow, and what problems do usually really come to you?
So Rev Growth Consulting it's an outbound lead generation agency. We carved out a pretty good spot for ourselves in the sort of the services and more of the services sector. So predominantly in the tech space. So you're talking managed service providers, businesses within cybersecurity, vendors, partners, high-end consultancies. So businesses within sort of data analytics, integration, automation. Always say, man, if your services have an Asian at the end of it, we can probably help you out. So,
That's a nice way to put it.
yeah, well, mate, you just end up saying like integration, automation, modernization, blah, blah, and you're just like, look, if there's an Asian, we can help you. And so it's a purely phone-based company, so we don't run any LinkedIn prospecting, email prospecting. It's just phone-based, and it's based off of. I come from the tech industry historically. It's probably about 6-ish years now, but phone-based, it comes from pretty much fresh out of high school, so 12, 13 years at this point. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's been a long journey. I mean, if you've been sort of 12 years, you've got a knack of sales and how sales systems work, how client acquisition works as well. So you've got a fair bit of understanding. Not fair, more than fair bit of understanding of how the mindset also works with the people when you're talking to them, isn't it? But what's one change you've seen in a company? We talk about the sales processes that are there within there. So what's one change do you see in a company after fixing their sales processes about the sales system that their companies are trying to resolve by getting through Rev Growth?
I think a big one is, this is particularly in the industry we work in. When you're talking about, again, back to those like high-end consultancies across digital transformation, for example, when you're trying to win a new customer, typically sales cycles are quite lengthy. So we might get a meeting with the exact person within your ICP, within your ideal client profile, but the timing might not be right. It might be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. We have clients like deals have taken 2 years to land. But of course, when they land, they're chunky opportunities,
course,
right?
yeah.
So, and this was a learning for me as well. Like I started the business and I was very much like, you're trying to prove yourself. So it's balls to the wall, as many calls as possible, meetings. But then you realize that actually there's a bit more finesse behind it in the form of nurturing, following up, post-meeting activity. Once you've had that initial foot in the door with this prospect, what can we do to progress them down the pipeline or keep them engaged and keep them hearing our name, month in and month out or periodically, right? Like that was a huge shift for me. So it stopped being just about impressing people with quantity and it started being like, well, what's the balance between the right number of opportunity year round, but mixed with having enough space in that year to follow up and treat those opportunities we got a foot in the door with properly.
Yeah. Can you give a kind of example, like a short example, just to help people understand how rev growth and the process works?
Yeah. So essentially, we have two services that kind of complement each other. Of course, we have an initial engagement where we kind of come in and prove the model. So it's a short proof of concept, a pilot. It's anywhere between 1 to 3 months. We come in. Prior to that, we onboard the client. That's typically done in person. So I'm going to Australia all the time. I've got a lot of business in Aussie.
That's good.
It's quite, the novelty wears off very quickly.
Of course.
Of traveling.
You speak to a lot of people. You travel a lot. You get your experience out of speaking to people, pitching yourself as a founder, as a CEO. But from everything you've been working with the founders, the companies, the entrepreneurs, and the individuals over there, right? What do most companies get wrong when they try to grow?
When they try to grow, you know what, man? It's a really interesting one because, like, I can only talk to my own experience of growth. Like, I feel like, and maybe it is, I don't know if it is just me, but I think a lot of people don't actually plan for growth. It's an interesting thing, right? Like, for example, when I started this business, I didn't plan for it to go to scale and grow and have these employees and stuff. Like, you're just trying to stay alive. You're trying to get your first batch of clients and try and do the right job. And I made this mistake. It slipped up here. And you're just trying to. So, and then you mix that, and I noticed it was quite interesting. I used to consume a lot of business content online. And I noticed that while I was in the thick of it and the business did start to have some success and scaling, I noticed, like, wow, there is actually not a lot of content to prepare people for success. There's a lot of content preparing people for failure. It's always like, you see people having plan Bs and stuff like that. And, here's how you deal with failure. But there's never like, no one prepares you for it to go well.
Exactly.
So I would just think like preparation for that growth and preparation for that success, having the right strategy in place, having the right people in place, and also just going above and beyond for the clients, trying to maintain that quality as it gets more. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it. It's just what I've sort of noticed.
Of course, by the way of experience.
For sure, 100%. I think like that would be the thing, is that what people get wrong about growth is they don't prepare for it. That's I mean, because I certainly didn't. It was really just like when I started, like, could I get a client? I don't know. Well, let's see. Kind of thing,
Okay. But do you think people are much more not aware about how to get it, or is it much more over reliance on thinking too much about the growth?
Yeah, it's probably thinking too much about the growth, I think.
And why do you feel they fall in that kind of a trap?
Well, I just think people look really long term as well, right? And they start to count score too quickly. So, like, for example, if you set a goal for yourself in a couple of years' time or a few years' time, you're looking at that, and it's you can kind of get a little bit consumed by it. Whereas I think if you have that goal, then you just dial it back to what do I need to do for today. That starts to take care of itself. I think you'll find that the compounding starts to take care of itself quite well.
But wouldn't you think it would be, it's good to even think longer term as well, that what I'm going to do in the next 6 months?
Oh, absolutely. No, it's a great thing to do. And I think like again, it's a balance, right? I think if people do too much of that, which I am constantly falling into, I'm doing a lot of looking long term. It's like, am I getting close to that? Am I getting close to that? You can get a little bit consumed by it when then you start to develop blind spots in your day to day. So I think it's important to have a balance of the two. And understanding that getting as many days in a row as possible, getting as many days right in a row as possible will lead to that.
100%. And talking about eventual growing, do you believe is growth a marketing problem or a sales problem?
That's a good question, actually. I think it's a sales problem. I mean, sales is kind of a part of marketing. I mean, if I were to differentiate the two, I think it would be more of a sales problem. Because for me, like, all I was consumed with was getting on the phone and speaking to people, which to me, I guess, falls into the sales category. And I think a lot of people, I noticed this in when I first started the business, there's a lot of like limiting beliefs that people have almost from like Chinese whispers. Like they've heard things and they've adopted that as their belief. So I remember I started the business in October, in October, so 2022 October. That's when I shot off on my own, painfully close to the Christmas period, right? And all I'd heard was,
Yeah.
"Oh, nothing happens over Christmas. People check out in November." You know, I just hear that. I heard those constantly, and we'll get to this of how the business came about. But like, long story short, I signed our first client the week of Christmas.
Wow.
Still a client to this day, and yes, very grateful for them. Safe to say. But yeah, man, and I kind of that was a huge realization for me. I was like, this is a very reputable company. That the CEO did not have to meet with me the week before Christmas,
Sure.
and give me the green light the week of Christmas. And I said, well, I wonder where people got this notion from that like, oh, these things don't happen, so we're just not going to do it. You know, like this doesn't happen over Christmas.
Yeah.
It's April, it's Easter, it's school holidays, it's a bad month, so we're just not going to. We're just going to pull back on stuff. You know, it's like, I guess, and again, that for me, that falls into, it kind of links back to that sales problem. It's like I just didn't. I was like, what day? I don't care what day of the week it is. Get on the phones and get my foot in the door with some businesses.
No, true, and I get that pretty right. I mean, I have the same feeling when it comes to sales because I belong from an IT sales background as well, been a lot of years. But everybody, you know, it's Christmas. People don't work after 18th of December.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing going to happen. Easter, everybody's gone. Yes, everybody's gone, but there are a few people still working, right?
Still people.
And what I see growth as, again, my stand is much more 50-50 on marketing as sales. Sales definitely helps you to grow, but I think marketing keeps you relevant in the business. And I think that is much more important because if you're not touching base with people, if you're not getting the clients, it is still good to stay relevant with them over the period of time. But once you started, you know, working closely with the CEOs, the founders, or entrepreneurs, what more surprised you the most?
It's a funny one, actually. I was quite surprised at how many people weren't conscious of the fact they weren't making a good first impression. I was really surprised by it. I've met a few not just business owners, but you jump on a call, and for me, I don't know, I never thought of it, right? Like I was always like, you know, I'm always wanting to be respectful to people and make a good first impression. I was very surprised. A lot of people that I've met lack that skill. And then you meet them a second time, a third time, and they turn out to be lovely. And I just wanted to almost just be like, hey man, like, what was it? Like the first time was just a bit, you know, like I was really surprised at that. I didn't realize that people weren't that conscious that I might not be coming off as my best self, kind of thing. For whatever reason, I'm not. But that was, to be honest, the most surprising thing.
That's interesting too.
Yeah,
I mean, I do understand that people, you know, because they don't see themselves quite often. Maybe I think could be the reason. But again, why do you think that happens so often?
Oh, I mean, there's a couple possible reasons. I mean, maybe I understand that they might be skeptical of our service. Where we operate is there's a lot of cowboys in this industry. There's a lot of businesses doing it all really wrong. You know, we very often, and by the way, most people are nice people. I should be clear about that. But there has been a lot of times where I'm like, this has happened more times than I'd expect it to. But you know, you get a lot of agencies or people conducting lead generation services doing it wrong. Well, maybe not doing it wrong, but just not providing the service that they said they were going to provide, you know, for whatever reason. And most of my job when I meet with a business owner is fighting that skepticism. You know, I can't tell you how many people I've met and they just go, yeah, look, we tried this a couple of years ago. We spent an arm and a leg on it for 6 months or whatever. It didn't work. They got us 2 meetings. They didn't turn up to the meeting. You know, they gave us a spreadsheet and pretended like they were doing work and such, right? And so that could be why. They could just be like, oh, yeah, this is another one of those.
Mm.
Not sure. But yeah, that was definitely the most surprising thing I found.
That is interesting because, I mean, to take that kind of a preconceived notion and
Yeah.
to change it on a call, it's still the way and art of selling as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think it is much more important for you to create that kind of
Yeah.
impression in the first 20 minutes or
Yeah.
15 20 minutes that comes on, even for the first 5 minutes, how you speak, what you speak, how you're presenting yourself.
Yep.
Makes much more of a relevant business for yourself as well as for them, because for them it's to see how Ali is or who Ali is, pretty much.
Yeah.
And that takes me back to the question is, if we rewind back to 2020, you were working as an SDR, which is sales development rep. Back then, did you genuinely believe you would be running your own company within a couple of years?
Probably not. I mean, look, at that, it's quite interesting, man. At that point, I had I'd come out of a pretty rough period in my life, and before that, I always wanted to be a business owner. I was always I tried so many things. I'd come off of a few things that didn't work. I'd fallen on my face quite a few times, and when I joined that role as an SDR, that was the point of like, look, just swallow your pride for the next foreseeable future. Get a job, get you a little bit of money, and figure yourself out, kind of thing. So I just kept my head down throughout that time. So I guess at that moment, no. But overall, throughout my life, I always wanted to do something. I always had this curse of ambition. I just couldn't sit still for too long. But no, at that point, and then the couple of jobs that followed that, I worked in cybersecurity. I worked for an MSP here in Auckland. No, not really. I mean, it's only when it kind of became evident to me, probably halfway through my last job that I had, where I was like, oh, there's this idea. Oh, are we really sure about this? Do you really want to put yourself out there again and fall on your face for the fourth or fifth time, kind of thing? But no, man, before that, it was like, no, just knuckle down.
Yeah, just go for it.
Swallow your pride, kind of thing, for a little
I like
bit.
the way that you put it up, is a curse of ambition.
Yeah.
I mean, it is never heard before. I've never heard it's a curse, but I mean, again, I understand why you say that, because it's the mentality to go for it again and again and again.
Yeah.
But going for that again and again, we meet the failure, which you have met, right?
Yeah.
And even though meeting those kind of failures over the period of time before rev growth, right? What made you realize you might be capable of building something yourself?
Well, it was at that last role that I had. So up until that point, man, I'd gotten a couple of roles as an account exec or business development manager, sales rep, basically.
Yeah.
I always say the SDR sets up the coffees, the sales rep goes and has the coffees.
Yeah.
So I finally got a job where I could go have the coffees.
Nice.
And essentially, I got there and noticed the same inefficiencies that I'd found in previous roles, where it was just the lead gen component just didn't seem to be sticking, kind of thing. And so at that point, I just did what I normally did, because everyone else around me was getting their leads through their networks, through attending conferences, through partners. Whereas, at 25 or 26, you don't know anybody.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I was, I just did what I had to do, the only skill that I really had, which was getting on the phones.
Yeah.
Eventually that turned into building out a team at the MSP. The CEO, to his credit, came to me and said, hey man, like, do you want to scale this out to a team, kind of take a bit of a horizontal step from your role to become a team lead? And yeah, I mean, I kind of looked at that and was like, well, I can do it, but can I teach people how to do it? All right, I'm pretty sure I can. I just need the right attitudes, right? So it's all in that upfront process, the interview process.
Yeah.
Because I could give anyone the script, I could give anyone the way of targeting, but if you don't have the right attitude, it's not going to work out. So took 3, at the time, early 20-year-olds with no sales experience whatsoever, kind of took it as a bit of a challenge. I was like, well, these are a couple of them first jobs out of uni.
Yeah.
I was like, I bet I can turn them into
Did you turn them?
champions. And yeah, man, they were extremely successful.
Yeah.
So, very, very proud of what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like, again, would not have happened without their attitudes.
Yeah.
They all came with they were the go-getters that I needed.
No, 100%.
And then, yeah, as I said, about halfway through that role, I kind of went, well, maybe there's a market for this kind of thing. That did not come without its fair share of mistakes when I first started. It's not the business that is running today. The one that started.
Yeah.
So.
But the story reminds me quite a bit of what I did back in the day.
Yeah.
I was working for one of the companies, and again, it was the ICT sales company. That's the first time I got my role into inside sales rep. Did what I did, got a horizontal role where I was offered an opportunity to become a team lead. And I did exactly the same. I grew the team. They started off with 12. And by the time I left that company, I think it was around 28 in telesales, 12 in door-to-door.
Oh, wow.
So I left with that. And yeah, I think what you picked up pretty right? I mean, that's the point I like it is the freshers out of uni. I picked up exactly that too.
They're great.
I mean, the perfect way to nurture them and to grow them and make them successful is to give them the right attitude of doing it.
Yeah.
And I understand that completely is, people, I've got people in my time when I was doing the team lead role, was growing the team, people telling me, Bridge, I can't do this.
Right.
Because I think there's something in regards because they've never done, that's not one of the best step for them. They've never gone out there, talked to people on the phone. They're just so scared. Oh, what am I gonna say? What I'm gonna say if they put up this question? And till date, even sometimes I feel nervous when I'm talking to one of the CIOs, what he's gonna ask. But again, there's always a way to turn around and put the question back on the table, or put the ball in their court and see what they think.
Yep, they have to want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, some shape or form. I think it's the way that you build it right. Building a team is setting up that right attitude with the people coming out, because that's
100%.
the most important thing.
It's everything,
and that helps in scaling, growing, and in the next steps as well.
Oh, for sure. Like I've got, throughout my years of doing it, I always have family members and friends that I heard it so many times. I could never do that. I could never. And I go, well, you know what? Like logically, I could teach you it in like 5 minutes. Like it's words on a page, and it's toggling between tabs. It's like, realistically, you can do it.
True.
You just have to want to do it.
Absolutely. You just need to go up there, sit in there, sit on, and do it. That's all.
Yeah.
But between kind of deciding and actually launching, what were the top two things nobody warns you about starting a company?
Well, that preparing for success, preparing for it to actually go well.
Yeah.
Because then you're like, because it's for some reason, and obviously when you look back, it seems so obvious.
True.
But I feel like before you take that leap, you're so afraid of it not going well. You don't think about when it goes well. You think like, for some reason, I guess I was like, well, did I think if it goes well, I'll have no challenges or problems ever?
Yeah.
It's like totally not true. It's like that's comes with it's an ever growing amount of responsibility and challenges and things that you have to fix every single day.
Yeah.
So that would be is again, just have that mindset that I know people are quite they're quite nervous of taking that leap because it might not go well.
Yeah.
But please, for God's sake, think about that other alternative, because when it does, you're going to have to walk the walk.
Absolutely.
So that was one thing. And sorry, what was the
so what were the top two things nobody warns you about starting a company?
So there's that. Yeah. And then I would say, it probably it's a bit of a personal it's a personal realization. Running a high growth business, it really amplifies who you are to yourself. It amplifies your emotions, because everything is just on 100, right? Like your stresses, your nerves, your excitements, your everything.
Do you mind giving an example of that?
Oh man, like you really learn who you are in those uncomfortable situations, uncomfortable conversations. It's you learn how good you are at turning it off after work, outside of work, and building and trying to work that out. It amplifies everything that I think is maybe just turn down just a little bit when you can just go to a job, clock off, and switch off for the day. When it all falls on you, it amplifies. It's like the mirror does not lie to you at that point. It's just like, this is who you are, this is who you are, this is who you are, this is who you are. And so that's something that I wasn't aware would happen. And that is, but it's good, right? It's more of a, there's a saying from Alex Hormozy where he says, the business works on you harder than you work on it. 100% true. Because it's forced me to see these characteristics about myself that are great, but some are also not so great that I might have to work on, right? Which is those anxieties, those nerves, and those threat detections of potential things going wrong, or and things like that. Those are probably the top two things I would say. People didn't really. Well, I mean, no one really tells you about that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely. I mean, I get the point. There's the points you mentioned. The second point, pretty much. I mean, it hits the mark where the level and the feeling that is the emotions that you go through is quite different. It's quite different. Like, I mean, I can guarantee that now that I have this, right, that staying awake till 3 is not. It's fun, but it's not fun either. But again, it's the requirement of the business. Have to be done. There are some things you promised, you need to deliver on them. And I think as a business, and if you take it as a business, it's as good as what you say. If you start dropping the ball, then that's not the best ideal way. People will not take that. Oh, you know what? That's not the way that happens.
Yeah. Look, you the analogy I give to people, because I was as it started to the business started to find its feet over the last, I would say, 18 months. Of course, people would take notice of my friends, my family members. They'd all be so proud, right? They're just like, oh, you must be. And I get that all the time. I'm so happy for you. You're so excited. And meanwhile, I'm, thinking about the next challenge. I'm thinking about, and so the analogy I give to people is running a high growth business is like riding a roller coaster that you built.
Sure.
So everyone else is riding the roller coaster, not knowing what went into it. And they got their hands up in the air and they're enjoying the ride. You're over there and you're like, oh man, like, I hope that bolt's screwed in properly. Like, I hope that upcoming turn I wasn't sure about building that part. Well, we'll see how it goes, So you're always on alert, right? And I think I came to that realization is it's riding a roller coaster that you built.
But about that same feeling, right? I want to make you stick on that. When did you feel that the most?
I would say towards I'm constantly reminded of it. I don't think it's like a one thing. It wasn't a one-time thing. It's probably milestones. Like when you reach certain milestones, maybe you reach a revenue number, maybe you reach a payroll number, you reach a level of headcount, it's just new levels of responsibility. I kind of look around and go, it's all on me, really? So it's constant. There's no one time I would say that kind of went, oh, what's this? It's just over time you kind of reach these kind of like a step up. I have someone that I'm quite close. He's a bit of a mentor to me. He goes, you go through steps in business. He's like, when you have that step, sometimes it can hurt, and you'll have those quite frequently throughout your period of growth. And for me, I guess those are those steps. Is like, for example, when we hire a new person, because we're remote at the moment, we're all Auckland based, but we don't have a set office space. When we hire someone new, we do go to an office space, and I never fail to notice the increasing amount of heads when we're sort of walking out of the office and going to get some lunch or whatever. And I'm looking at them just going, wow, that's a lot of heads. So that's probably a moment I would say. Like every time we're in an office space and I'm walking at the back and all the staff are in front of me and I'm going, well, that's a lot of people.
You started with something to solve and then you're like, oh, damn it, that's a lot of people that are on the board. But you talked on one of the topic, which I think I want to make people listening to us, that, it's not been regarded as the most important aspect, but I think I believe it's one of the important aspect of starting a business. It's about mentorship, right? You talked about a mentor. How important is having a mentor?
it's extremely important. You know, someone that you can lean on and it can relate to you a little bit. You know, I think they do say this is quite a lonely road as well. Entrepreneurship,
Sure.
it can be quite lonely.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of people. Maybe for some it's different, but like there's not a lot of people in your direct line of contact that can know exactly what you're going through and why you're going through, why you're feeling a certain way.
True.
You know, the mentor is obviously, you know, the ideal mentor, I should say, is someone who has been where you are and can kind of share their experience with you and how they got through similar experiences. So that's quite useful in that sense, right? And just realizing, like, you know, how I interpret it anyway is like, this guy in particular, very successful, you know, a little bit older than I am, and I just look and go, wow, like I'm not crazy. He feels these things too, still feels them to this day after, you know, 20 years of success, kind of thing.
100%.
So I think that stuff is quite useful, man. Like it can get quite overwhelming at times, and it's quite nice to lean on people like that to help guide you.
And regarding it, right? I mean, I totally get it. In as much as I want to say that you know, finding mentor is important, because I believe it's not just one looking up to it. I think, and you said it right, is, you know, there's sometimes decisions, there are sometimes situations where you are in where nobody's feeling you, but that's the only guy who's feeling you. But the other thing is to find the right mentor.
Yes.
And like, if, you know, people listening to us, if they are in that stage, what are the, in general terms, right? I mean, what are the two things that would be important to identify for a person who's at the edge of starting or started up the business, wants to scale? What are the two things that they need to look for in a mentor?
I think it's an interesting topic, man, because before I started my business, my whole thing was, oh man, where are the mentors? Where are the, you know, like, and you don't, you know, the real mentors, the real ones that are actually going to help you, you can't obviously, you're not going to find them on the side of the road. Like they're very tough people to come in contact with. You know, like a lot of things in life, I found my mentors when I stopped looking. You know, they came into my life through clients who referred me, and, you know, just through expanding the network. I suppose there was one piece of advice that I got very early on, and I didn't really understand it at the time. I kind of get it more and more as I go through this journey. Someone I caught up with probably like a month into starting my business, just terrified, broke, you know, just, and I caught up with him, and he just went, you know what, mate, the best thing I could give you is that this is all going to go, this is all going to be okay. I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, this is all going to be okay because you're in play. I kind of just went, what does that mean? He goes, you're in play. Just stay in play. He's like, as soon as you're out of play, that's when momentum stops. That's when things, and he just kept saying in play. And what I'm starting to notice that means is, it means that you're on the go, you're pivoting, you're in the motion, you're executing, you're taking action. Because when you take action, every action has consequences, good or bad. When you take action, it provides consequences. And again, we associate the word consequences with something negative. Sometimes it's a great thing. Sometimes they're great consequences. So, for example, what that meant by being in play was, you know, when I started my business, I had to pivot a few times very quickly. I had the wrong model for the wrong market, long story short. But just by being in play, a few moves here, I got the right, I got, for example, I couldn't afford the tools that we use now, the targeting tools. So I bought a list online. I gave this freelancer online my ICP. The list was terrible, but there was one lead in there. And who was it but that client I signed before Christmas? And that is what I'm starting to realize, like, by being in play, you make yourself available to these opportunities. You know, I wasn't looking for these mentors at that time, but they came into my life because I was in play. And so I hope that was a decent explanation of what that means.
Fair enough.
Because it was so confusing to me at the time, but I'm always reminded of how life plays out.
Yeah.
And I go, that happened because I was in play and I was executing. I was in the moment. I was taking life as it comes. And here I am today with these opportunities, with this network, with, all of this came around where there's no way I could have planned for all of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But it happened because I was in play.
Yeah, 100%.
Hope that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And I think it's a good analogy of how you got in touch. And I believe that line pretty well, 100% on it. The day you stop finding the thing that you want to find, it will start coming to you.
Yeah. It's happened a few times in my life.
I've done that once in my entire life, and it did work.
Yeah.
And I think in pursuit of finding things, you also start, not finding things, because at the hindsight, that there's always going to be there. Everybody needs success, for example. But it's not, you don't go finding success, but you keep doing the hard work. You keep being in play.
Yeah.
And as much as you are in the momentum, that is going to happen some stage in some shape or form. So I think that's what it is.
Oh, man. And a specific example which shaped the business that we know today, I think it was because I started the business wanting to build SDR teams internally for companies. I did that for the MSP. So I'm like, I'm going to go do this for other companies. I would get to the end of that proof of concept I mentioned, that initial engagement, and normally in my sales cycle that I just made up in my house, it was like, okay, well, after the proof of concept, they're going to be sold on SDRing, and they're going to want to build out the team internally. And I'd get to the end of these proof of concepts, and they would just say, oh, can you just keep doing it for us? Like, we don't want to increase headcount. We don't have the budget. And they give all these reasons why. And I was panicking, man, because I was doing all these proof of concepts. I was exhausted doing a bunch of them every single month and getting nowhere, churning out all these clients. And I went, okay, I have to swallow my pride and build out an ongoing service of some sort. I have to get some sort of retainer model that works. It's not, and I said, you know what? You've been a stressor your whole life. You've been trying to control everything your whole life, Ali. For the next couple of months, just do nothing. Just keep doing what you're doing. Not even a few weeks later, a client that I just finished up the initial engagement with, we built a good relationship in that 4 weeks as well. We got on a call, and I was kind of saying to him, I was like, yeah, look, I'm thinking of rolling out this ongoing service, blah, blah, blah. There's not much to it yet. And he just made this comment. He goes, yeah, and you know what? Considering how many you get us in a single month, you might want to do some nurturing and following up on some alternative months for us. And I went, that's it. That's the differentiator for our service. And that's where I started to roll out the nurturing, the following up. I just went back on all these times throughout my career where I was like, that business could have used that. That business could have used that. And it just, again, in play.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful story. Definitely. But if we talk about, there's a different part of it, the different part of the sales company setting up and, starting off a company as well. What's a lie, founders in sales industry commonly tell themselves? What do you think?
A lie?
Yes.
Without a doubt. It's I get to choose my own hours. Without a doubt. I think I had this conversation yesterday with one of my best friends.
Yeah.
Someone he knows is like frustrated with their jobs. And they were like, oh, can you ask him about, can you ask Ali? Like, what does he do? And how they're just like, I'm so sick of my job. I just want to, I work too much. I want this, I want that. I go, do you think you're going to work less? Without a doubt, man.
Yeah.
Shortest answer I could give you is that.
But I mean, I get it, right? I mean, it's not, people think you're going to get your time back, but at the end of the day, having a business, it's about, I think, double the amount of time that you need to invest in, the flexibility and stuff. I get that point. But what do you think? If that is kind of the belief, or that is a kind of a lie, what should founders focus instead?
It's being as available as possible to the opportunities. So you're not bound by hours. You're not bound by, you're not bound by your own mindset of, oh, I want this lifestyle. I mean, look, it really depends, right? It depends what kind of business you want. If you are of that, let's say you're blessed with the curse of ambition, and you really want to do something serious, you're going to have to remove that I can choose my own hours. Nonsense, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Uh,
So it's I make myself as available as possible to our clients. Like
yeah.
that onboarding session that I was talking about,
Yeah.
all the traveling, we cover our own travel costs for that. I
Mm.
don't ask that of the client. We want, because as I said, right, we work in a very skeptical industry.
Mm.
I knew at the very start, I said, I'm going to have to go above and beyond and show our dedication and commitment to these businesses to
Mm.
show them that we're different.
Yeah.
And so I made myself as available as I needed to be
Mm.
for these businesses. There was no, oh wow, I'm an employer now. I can choose my own hours.
Oh, that's good. But
Yeah,
I mean, that's
I fired my boss and quit my 9 to 5s. All lies.
I do read lots of funny, reels and stuff.
Yeah.
What they apparently call the Gen Zs and how they quit. I was looking at that reels the other day.
Yeah.
Oh, hi employer, I quit. Yeah. And I mean, like, oh my god, that's not good. once you are getting into that employer phase, I mean, that's all the things that happens in people. I think they are pretty, as you said, they're skeptical about onboarding, especially the salespeople and the lead generation, because it comes with a lot of preconceived notion, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's a negative side, but the pros to it is it's fun. Having an extended arm of team, you can talk about things or what went wrong, and you have an opportunity to discuss, rather than having a BDM or a person who's doing everything by its own, right?
Well, I would say a
Yeah.
sales role is the most similar to being a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll use the same analogy that people say for salespeople. People
Yeah.
say about salespeople that, while working a sales role,
Mm-hmm.
they'll say that, and I totally agree, it's the hardest high-paying job and the
Mm-hmm.
easiest low-paying job.
Mm.
It's the same thing for business owner. It's the hardest high-paying job,
Yep.
easiest low-paying job.
Yep.
Meaning you get what you put out.
True, 100%. And I think it is much more important as an aspect of the business, because sales is the most evident part of the business as well.
Yeah.
And talking about that, I want to get to some of the classic, right? I mean, I'm sure you have seen this. It's gonna be, and I'm not sure how many times I've been asked, but the classic is about sell me this pen.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind, I want to do that. And the only
Yeah.
reason I want to do that is because I have a question which lines up to that, and I want people to see, how they kind of missing the mark on the sales process. So I'll get back to the question on that. But if I give you an opportunity, this is the pen. I'll give it to you. Okay. You wanna think about it, how you wanna do it. You can do it yourself. Take a couple of minutes and think. But yeah, I mean, I just want to showcase to the people the sales skill that you've learned from the past and show.
Well, I think in order to sell you this, you'd have to have shown some interest, in our example, right, on the phones.
Mm-hmm.
When you got cold called by me,
sure.
offering a pen, you agreed to the meeting.
Yep.
So when you jump on this meeting, the first thing I want to know is, why did you jump on this meeting?
Yep.
So, no one's just going to jump on for 30 minutes and waste their time, right?
Yeah.
Some might, but a lot of people wouldn't.
Well, they have.
so I want to understand for you, like, the first thing I would ask you is, look, I'm very grateful for your time.
Yeah.
I'd be really interested to know why you decided to give me 30 minutes of it, right? Obviously, and I would sort of just reiterate the fact, like, as you know, this is what we do. So I would love to know your current layout and your current thinking around this pen. Where have you been in the past? What pens have you tried in the past? What pen are you trying right now? What pen do you want for the foreseeable future that's going to align with your goals?
That's true.
So that's the first thing. And then what you'll find from there, mate, like, people will share. People will share where they've been. People will share their horror stories. That's how I find out about so many business owners' experiences with lead generation. And then people will say, yeah, look, we're willing to give it another try. And then you want to dig into the details of that, right? It's like, well, what are your expectations? Well, I want a blue pen. It's like, and look, this is the part where this is not a it's not an attractive answer. But if I got a pen that writes in black, it's not the right fit, and that's also okay.
That's okay.
And that's fine. You have to be willing to bow out of the duel when you're ready to do that.
Yes.
I think it's all about it's a doctor-patient relationship, right? I'm just taking notes and I'm seeing if I can help you.
Sure.
Kind of thing. That's probably the biggest thing for me is, it's it's understanding why you took this meeting, what you've tried in the past, and can this satisfy your needs for the long term? Can it fit within your comfort zone as well in terms of budget, in terms of timeline, you know? To which then, we would go into the differentiators of this pin.
Yep. No, that's a great way of pitching it, and thank you for doing that.
No, that's my pleasure.
It's a bit of I know it's most of the classic stuff that people, and I've been asked to do that on that in my idea to this podcast as well. I was asked to do that. I didn't, before we started off, I didn't tell you that story, but he asked me to do the same thing as well. Right. But what according to you, or what do you think that most of the people kind of miss when selling?
I think it's the being personable. People will buy your service or buy your product, but that you won't even get there if they don't like you, if they don't trust you, if they don't get a good feeling from you. I really believe in that. I think that makes pretty much all of it. That's why first impressions are so important. I think that's the top thing people need to be most aware of.
Yep.
Is being personable, being human.
Absolutely.
I think in this world where we are rewarding machines constantly, it's like human beings are still pretty cool.
Absolutely.
So I would say that, man. That's probably the top thing. Is like above all else, above your product, above your service. What do they think of you?
Yep.
Because that's going to make or break it. I think from the get go.
True. And I think you picked it up very right. I mean, people in this current market, they value AI much more than the human, and how things are progressing. We've recently seen an example of an AI technology in one of the government positions, how it toppled and changed and stuff. But we also think about the guys in terms of the people out there who are watching this, who has kind of no audience, no brand, no funding. What are the top 3 steps to getting there? Just getting the first paying customer. So you had a great example there yourself.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
so this person has left their job and taken the plunge.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, look, it's as simple as that, right? It's identifying your target, identifying your market, and just to lay it out for people, right? Like you can really boil it down to four filters, parameters. It's your job titles. So who's the person within the company? It's your industry. It's the size of the business, and it's the location in which the business and or the person is based. That's the first thing. That's just who am I serving?
Yep.
And then, God, get on the phone. Just get on the phone. You don't even need to have a proper script to start.
Yeah.
But getting on the phone and getting those reps in, you will hit the mark eventually.
Yeah. So I feel what you said is much more is identify the product or identify the problem which you want to solve eventually. Yes. Understand what are the set of customers that you're going to be dealing with, and last but not the least, I think talking to the customers. Am I correct?
100%. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I think of course, because if they've taken the plunge at this point, they have their solution in place. They have the thing that they want to sell. So at that point, you just have to identify who it's for.
But according to your expertise and so far that you've been in the industry, as a startup, as a founder, and as a CEO as well, what step do you believe people or founders or entrepreneurs avoid the most, and why do they do that?
Avoid getting on the phones, having conversations, getting those meetings in your calendar.
Why do you think they do that?
A multitude of reasons. I think, it's very daunting. I have called for, I don't even know at this point how many businesses I've made cold calls for. Without a doubt, hands down, the most nervous I have ever been is calling for my own business. Yeah. So I can only imagine what that's like to someone who's never done it or doesn't like doing it. You have people that are completely terrified to get on the phone, and it's like, oh, well, now I want you to also call about this brand that you've put your blood, sweat, and tears into. It's like, it's going to be tough, right? So,
absolutely.
But that is 100%. There's no better way from a cost-efficient standpoint, because when you start your business, you're quite tight on funds, obviously. There's no better way to get instantaneous feedback at the lowest cost.
Mm-hmm.
Then get on the phone and get immediate feedback.
Mm-hmm.
When we run campaigns with businesses,
Yeah.
their client, we have clients that go, hey, we have this messaging that we'd like to try out for this other service.
Mm-hmm.
Can you build out a script around there and try to get some meetings for it? They go,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, sure. They go, oh, well, how long do you reckon until? I go, a day, 2 days? And they're like, really? It's like, yeah, we would have had a bunch of conversations by then, and we can tell you if it works or not. It's straight away.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also as the business owner, as the founder, that's you being in play, putting yourself out there.
Absolutely. And you said it pretty right? Myself, I've seen few examples of that where people are scared, nervous. I don't know what you want to call them, but they don't want to go get on the phone. And I think that is much more evident if you are the founder, if you are the person, if you are not getting on the phone, talking to people.
Yeah. So and I don't blame them, mate. Honestly, it's really tough. Like for your own business.
I agree.
Yeah. For your
because
own,
you're always thinking whether I'm doing it in the right, if I'm positioning it right.
If they say no, it's a personal attack on me. And, that was the first thing I delegated.
Yeah.
The very first thing I delegated was I can't do this. I can make all these calls for all these other clients.
Yeah.
But for rev growth, someone else is going to do that.
Yeah. So when we talk about that, right? I mean, if one of the founders are not making the calls for that and talking to customers, they are struggling in one space. And when a company is struggling to grow, where should the customer focus first, or where should the founder focus first in our space?
Sorry, say that again.
So if that's where is the missing part, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're not talking to the customer, that eventually struggles in the growth as well, on the growth phase.
Yeah, of course.
And having said that, what is kind of a 1 or 2 steps they should start focusing on so that they can get it better better in the growth perspective?
So back to that, getting on the phone. I mean, the applicable, the step-by-step way that at least I did it was I went on Fiverr, Fiverr.com. And you have Upwork. You have a bunch of these websites out there where you have contractors, freelancers that are willing to, for an hourly rate or whatever it is, do a service for you. I literally went on there. As I said, the tools that we use now, they cost a lot of money per month. So I didn't have anywhere near that when I started my business.
Sure.
So I went on there. I found a whatever it is, a lead generation list builder or whatever it is. I said, hey man, like, this is my ICP. Do you use these tools? They're like, yep, cool. Like, build me this list, please. I want 50 people or whatever it is, or 100 people. And then you just have to fight every fiber in your being that's telling you not to pick up that phone, and pick up that phone. I mean, look, I would build out a very basic script. I wouldn't overthink it. I would try and sound as personable as possible, as respectful as possible. But also, I wouldn't try and be fake about it, right? Like, you are a startup, and I used to tell people, like, yeah, look, I've just shot off on my own. I'd really love to connect with someone like yourself. And you'd find, man, like, people really, it's a breath of fresh air, for people to receive, to just get someone just honest with them. Wow. So yeah, it's really that simple. It's not easy. Yeah. It's very simple.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the grand context of things, I think I always wanted to, get the background of thinking behind the question I'm going to ask is, in your expert opinion or expert experience, right? What separates a good founder from a great one?
Not to say I'm a great founder. I'm trying my best. But like, look, what I try and do, right? There's 2 sections to my business that I'm always trying to, well, technically 3. The third one I'm neglecting quite a lot of, which is me. But the 2 main components to a business is, I mean, from me anyway, is my staff and my clients. Those are the 2, top of mind things that I need to cater to on a daily basis. Is, can I provide the best service and the most premium service at a price that makes the most sense to this market? And can I provide a safe and enjoyable but an exciting workplace for these people? Because I say to all my staff, look, I'm not the biggest, baddest, sexiest business on the block, right? Like, you can go across the road to this business with 200 staff, a fantastic office space, bean bags, the whole lot, right? We don't have that. But what I can offer you is growth potential, this, and actually be a man of my word, you know? So I treat actually staff and clients quite similar because I have a duty to both of them to onboard both and to keep both, you know? So I have the same mindset approaching both. It's like I have these duties to fulfill. Can I be a man of my word? And I think that is, simply put, being a man, being a man of my word is probably what has provided me with the success that I've had so far.
But you as you said, you follow a couple of business people, and you do read. I'm assuming that you do read about them as well, and that's how eventually you learn from them as well, and do the steps that is required for the business. Has there been one of the idealistic places where you felt, what, this is what separates him from the rest of the bunch? And
I mean,
yeah.
Sorry, what was
So
the
no. So I mean, in terms of the great founder, right? I mean, is that separates from him? These are all the founders, right? These are 10 people, but this is a separate one. This is something different that hits the mark for me.
Yeah, look, I don't really consume a lot of business content these days. I did early on.
Yeah.
But you're just so in the thick of things, and you're so, I think everyone's very case by case as well. So I find a lot of business advice, it's quite tough to apply it when you're actually in the thick of things, because your scenario is so different to the person providing the advice.
True.
So I think I can only talk to my experience and what has worked for me. And it's really that it's satisfying those two things. And I think that is what has provided me with that, with the success that we have had. Of course, you got the basics like your work ethic. You're waking up and you're doing the same thing every day, and maybe you clock off for the day and you're like, man, today really kicked my ass. But am I going to get up tomorrow and do the same thing? Yep. Am I going to try again? Yep. And I think it's that, right? Like I always, resiliency is a really important component that I think also is it can't be taken lightly, because you're going to need it, But if I had to go like from a good founder to a great founder, I would say satisfying those two components, right? It's like the person you're providing the goods to, and the people providing the goods.
What I believe in, this is what I've
I would like to hear what you think.
This is something that I've always made myself relevant to, is the hard work. I believe the amount of hard work you put it in, no matter whatever the situation is, the baddest of the days, the worst of the feelings, no matter whatever you're going through, put in that hard yards. If you got to work, if you got a company to show up to, and you're not great in the morning, that nobody cares about that. You're gonna still wake it up. You still enter that 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock or whenever you're going there. Just show up, and you still got to show up for the team that you stand for.
Absolutely.
And for the company that you represent.
Absolutely.
And I think that is one thing that for me will always be a differentiator from a good founder to the greatest of the founders.
Oh, for sure.
Because I think luck is great, but hard work is something on the next level. You can see it completely. When
you do need a little bit of luck, for sure.
100%. I agree
but no, there will come a point where you've done things month in and month out where you can kind of, the imposter syndrome drops away a little bit, and you just go, you know what? We know what we're doing.
And I think I always think that the more I make it relevant to how diamonds are being made. Diamonds are more about getting out there, getting the grind in there, and that's when one of the piece comes out of that. And sometimes it never comes up. Even if you go in the mines, you do things what needs to be done to find the diamonds, you're not going to get it every time. But the process that you're doing every day will eventually get you one. So I think that's the component of luck that I believe in too.
Oh, for sure.
And so moving towards the end of a podcast side of the things as well, someone who's watching tonight who's been sitting on an idea but hasn't acted on it yet, talk to them not about the strategy, but about the decision they're avoiding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have the exact moment for that was applicable to me. So I registered the business, I think 2 months before I actually started doing anything with it. I was having that, the paralysis by analysis, the previous failures I'd had, and I had a fear of doing it. I had a fear of taking the leap, and I'll never forget this. Like week by week, I was getting this feeling in my chest going into work, going into my job, and it got to a point, which is the moment I put in my resignation. It was the Sunday, and I just woke up that day. I said to my now wife, I said, I'm going to resign tomorrow, and it was just a split decision. And I thought about it a little bit more, and I said this to my boss at the time, who I have a very good relationship with, so I could speak quite openly with him. And I said to him, I said, "Hey mate, I've got this business idea, and as of now, the fear of not doing it is greater than the fear of doing it." And he just said back to me, he said, "That's when it's the right time to do it."
Wow. Wow. And I'm
Yeah.
sure it must have been the most emotional decision as well.
Yeah, man, I'll never forget that, the drive back over the Harbor Bridge.
Oh.
I'll never forget, just like, it's been in here for all these months.
Yeah.
And what have I done? Made it a reality now.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll take you out of the emotional situation. As I said, we've drafted something which is quick answers.
Yeah.
It's much more for rapid fire stuff. So
Cool.
whatever comes first to the mind, let's get on to it. It's a few questions. It's not a huge pile of questions like 4 or 5, right?
Mhm.
So I'll start off with the first one, and I know the answers to most of it, what you're going to say, but I'm still going to ask it.
Okay.
Cold outreach or inbound sales?
Cold outreach.
Coffee meetings or Zoom calls?
Coffee meetings.
Best sales book founders should read?
Ooh. I thought The Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort is a good place to start to take some of those tips. Not the lifestyle, but the tips. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Not the decisions.
Not the
yeah.
lifestyle.
Not the decisions, but the tips.
Hardest skill to learn in sales?
Resiliency.
One habit every founder should build?
Same answer. Resiliency.
Fantastic. That's the end of rapid fire. So thank you. That was a great one. And last but not the least, we end with this question for every founder that comes on this couch.
Mm-hmm.
What is one scaling secret every founder needs to understand before trying to grow any business?
It's not. I mean, it's just like applicable like steps or mentalities, because for me, I think the mindset is so much more important.
Let me rephrase this. What is the one scaling secret that you believe that has worked for you and that you want to tell it to the audience who are listening today?
What's worked for me, and again, I'm not perfect at this because it's easier said than done. What's worked really well for me is setting the goal in place, and then bringing it back to day-to-day actions.
Sure.
So I use this analogy a lot of, it's very hard to control the day-to-day challenges that happen. It's easy to control the end game, right? I want to get to this number. I want to get to this head count. So I always say, you determine the destination, life will determine your path. And you just have to work through that path day by day, try to get as many days right in a row as possible. It's the same analogy I give of if you're going on a road trip, you can choose your Airbnb, but you cannot choose if your path there is full of detours and your tire goes flat, or you have to stop for a bathroom break, or you can't stop any of that. But what you can do is just keep going and try and get as many days right in a row as possible. The destination will be there. The Airbnb is not going anywhere.
True.
But it won't happen if you stop. So you won't get there if you turn around and go back home. True. So I always say, just try and leave the destination where it is. You will get there when you get there. Bring it back to your day-to-day actions, your day-to-day goals that will compound into that big goal you have.
Fantastic. And thank you so much. Any last piece that you want to tell it to the audience who are listening to you today? It's your platform. Go ahead.
I'd just say don't be too hard on yourself. to be honest with you. Like, it can get pretty overwhelming at times. It can get quite daunting. Don't let yourself slack off, obviously, but um, don't be too hard on yourself. Understand you're human. Understand you're going to make mistakes. It's how you respond to those mistakes. That's what truly matters. And that's what I found actually clients value. It's your proactiveness towards mishaps or challenges or things. It's calling those out and being proactive about finding a solution.
No, fantastic. Thank you so much, Ali.
Thanks, man.
This has been a fantastic conversation. Your journey from being an SDR to founder in helping businesses in growing their revenue over the period of time, that's a great lesson to learn here for most of the people who are looking at it. And as you rightly said, companies don't scale because of how they raise the money, but it's much more, the scaling works on how they create the value in the market and how they communicate to it. If this episode a lot, something make you feel, something made you moved about it, save it, like it, share it, subscribe it. And until then, keep building, keep scaling.